Well, that'll do. What do you think?
We have to figure out how we rebuild it now.
Well, that may not have been the easiest or the quickest thing to do, but oh man. We've managed to get one step closer to saving a piece of the original fabric of the house. It's not in the world's greatest shape, but man, it's got gorgeous patina. It's got the actual circle saw boards, the square nails, the M's and the scratch marks from children long from the past. If we can actually pull off lifting this thing up, getting it vertical and back into space, that'll be a real accomplishment. For tomorrow. For tomorrow.
100 days from now, we want to be eating, sleeping, and living by candlelight in this house. It's going to be a great hideaway for us and for others. But up until today, we haven't been sure if any of the original 135-year-old walls would be good enough to come back into the final, rebuilt house. Past episodes show us why.
There's a skunk in there when I lifted up the floor.
Maggie! There's a skunk! Under the floor! It smelled like a skunk. I literally talked about it earlier and today. It's like, it's skunky.
No, I lifted up and you just see.
You can see how the walls were just packed full of grain and 130 years of life.
This week, we are tackling the four walls, bringing back some old and building a lot of new. And I'm going to warn you, this has been a tough decision-making process. I mean, we've made furniture for this build from scratch, but we've also delicately restored pieces for this project. So which route do we take with these four walls? Restore? Remake? Because those are two very different choices. It's walking a fine line here. The old walls may be humble, but they are a direct connection to history. Do we save the original bones of them? Or do we rebuild, new, in a sympathetic way? And what difference does it make? Well, we'll figure that out real quick by doing the actual work. They didn't have drywall or chipboard or caulking in 1889, so we aren't using those things. Just trees from the forest going straight to boards and then straight to walls. Robbie is milling, Jesse is stacking, and I, Clayton, will narrate us through the work. We know some of the walls are going to be 100% fresh wood harvested from the forest here. That will save the architecture of Uncle Dan's for the next 100 years. But we aren't willing to give up on the original boards just yet. So let's start with our highest ambition, to bring back the north wall. This may be a pipe dream, but we are going to try.
All right, so as you guys can see, there's a ton of patina when you look at this old north wall. It is full of great color and history, but it's kind of a mess. I'm not gonna lie, it's driving Robbie nuts. We're gonna try and find a way to use the wood because obviously a lot of it's still in great shape. It's not rotten, but parts of it are totally shot. So we think the structure is still good, but we're not quite sure how we're gonna do this. I don't know the last time I had my tetanus shot. Probably out an inch or two.
Oh yeah. No, that's obvious. Probably have to know where the studs are.
At least they're not rotten.
Yeah.
So some of the boards are, but the studs look good.
It's time to go get the farmhand and try to lift the north wall. This old thing has proved more useful than most of our modern machinery. No guarantees this is going to work. You're seeing some farmer ingenuity right here.
This was to get done.
Up until last week, and despite all our planning, we really didn't know if any of the original walls could be reused. We pulled nails for days trying to save original boards, and we tucked all 4 walls away rather than destroying them. We held on to every bit we could, not knowing where it would lead us. And thankfully, it's led us here, to the north wall, albeit precariously, returning to its exact spot from before. We had to hack into it here and there, and it absolutely was a head-scratcher to figure out how to tie this thing in. But it's here. For better or worse, it's back. The 3 other original walls are far too rotten or full of animal smells to save entirely. So the method on those has been to painstakingly pull the square nails, sort each board, and stack the good ones away for safekeeping. The solid ones might make their return as interior or exterior wall boards, and the really weathered ones might be an art installation. The new wood, though, the new wood is going to be the salvation of this place. Driving down the highway, this house will look just like it did 135 years ago, a lone cabin in a big green valley, marking a time long ago when the West was wild and the pioneer reigned.
What do you think?
We have to figure out how we rebuild it now. Cut all these out and cut that out.
Well, don't be so positive about it.
While the prep work gets us ready to set this wall back in place, where it has stood for 135 years, here's a first-hand account of what pioneer life and homesteading was really like back in the days when this house was brand new. Back when the government issued cheap land through the Homestead Act, and people came west to a wild and harsh place. This poem was written by a forgotten woman homesteader who survived alone out in the American prairie.
I'll write a few lines if only I can, and tell you about my excellent plan. You'll find me out here on a West Bench plain, working hard on a government claim. Hurrah for this country, the land of the free, home of the rattlesnake, bugs, and the flea. Oh, I tell of its joys and sing of its fame, while starving out here on my government claim. My mansion is built so it doesn't cover much soil, the walls erected according to Hoyle. The roof hasn't much pitch, it's quite level and plain, and I'll sure get wet if ever it rains. I have a good time, I live at my ease, on canned goods, old crackers, bacon, and cheese. Then come to this country, there's a home for you all, where the wind never ceases and the rain never falls, where the sun never sets but sweetly remains, till it burns up our crops on our government claims.
So these were trees that were cut down winter of 2020. Cut them in 6-inch cants and stickered them, built a cabin out of most of them, and this is what we had left. They were still in cants with live edges on both ends, and so I knocked those off and cut them in 2-inch lengths. Not knowing what we need yet, I just left them in the full length, so we'll have plenty of length on each piece. And we made them 2x5s so that when you add 1 inch on the inside and 2 inches on the outside, you get 8 inches thick. Every bit of 20 foot long.
So what are the actual dimensions?
2 inches by 5 inches by 20 foot 3-ish.
Is that what they originally were, or are we beefing them out to?
Oh, on the house they were 2x4s. But we'll have a tighter spacing, and we wanted a little bit deeper of a wall. More room for mice to pack wheat and poop in. Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
When we spray foam it, we can get more spray foam in there too for our value.
Mom, I don't know how to get down.
We knew that no matter what, we would have to bring in a lot of fresh wood for this project. The years of neglect made that inevitable. That's not unusual for historic old houses. I'd bet most famous preserved houses from history that you've toured, whether it's Abe Lincoln's birthplace or Mozart's house, well, probably only a percentage of the actual fabric, the plaster, the wood, was truly there from the start. Even delicate restorations must repair and replace a great deal. We've waited out storms and watched them roll through. It's early morning now, and Robbie is out at Uncle Dan's, trying to get the game plan set for raising the north wall. Jessie is on her way, and we better get to work soon before the wildlife reclaims Uncle Dan's all over again.
That was a weasel. I think those are the ones that turn all white in the winter. There's a lot of life in these walls. Dry stone walls are living walls. I wouldn't recommend it for every house, but I think it's too cool for this one.
All the work of this week has been leading up to this moment. Success is by no means guaranteed for us. The poor old wall is strong, but it's about to be tested. It sat abandoned for a very long time. If it crumbles on us, our plans will need to drastically shift.
Stop!
Down and in. You have to kind of be in one motion and tip this forward too.
Okay, so tip and go forward.
And up.
Okay. I have to remember how to do that. Okay.
Yeah. Go down a little.
Down.
Down just a little bit. Anytime I push it this way, in theory that other end should try to pivot around. What if we should have had this on the ground and I could have been standing in the doorway? What if we drop it with me in the doorway?
That'd be funny.
So as it comes back,
Yeah.
it'll need to go up. There you go. There you go. Ah.
We aren't stopping with the north wall. There's still time to start framing up the fresh new walls before haying season kicks off with a bang.
So that means that's going to be 205 and an 8. Or 205 normal.
The true 2x5 rough sawn walls are built on the ground and will then be raised up into place. Of course, rough sawn lumber is not perfect, and it takes more fiddling than we'd like. but knowing that the wood for this project has come from the surrounding trees, well, it adds something special.
96 inches is 8 feet, correct? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then minus an inch, because this sticks above the boards an inch, we're at 95 feet.
Okay.
And then it should be minus 4 inches. We'll have 4 inches of top plate on top of that. That was a I didn't make any noise.
I know you didn't.
I didn't make any noise. Yeah, that was straight. Perfect. Here we are. I'm not gonna ever say that I know what I'm doing. That would be why. You gotta have a bar.
Want something more aggressive?
Yeah.
The original north wall from 1889 is up. It's braced to withstand the wind. Humble though it may be, this wall is a direct connection to history. The fresh new wood for stud walls will go together quickly. The dimensions for the new walls are the same as they once were, windows in all the same spots, just framed out a bit sturdier than the original. It's time to close the gates and keep the cows out of the hayfields in the cabin. With the walls standing in place, I think it's safe to call this a house again. This little green valley probably looks a lot like it did back in 1889 when a pioneer first showed up here. I'm sure he had a house half built and lots of farm work to do, and so it is today. Robbie is getting ready to start haying in just a day or two, so Uncle Dan's will sit patiently until the urgent farm work is done. We'll be back to put those fresh walls up before too long.